In the course of the development of sociolinguistics, the contribution of Noam Chomsky is very significant. Noam Chomsky has given us a very famous pair called competence and performance, the distinction between competence and performance. According to him, competence is something, is the underlying knowledge of language structure, and performance is the language output which is affected by language external conditions. Something that makes sociolinguistics cross. There has been a very famous statement that is being given by Noam Chomsky in his book published in 1965. He says, linguistic theory is concerned primarily with an ideal speaker and listener in a completely homogeneous speech community who knows its language perfectly and is unaffected by such grammatically irrelevant conditions as memory invitations, distractions, shifts of attention and interest, and errors in applying his knowledge of the language in actual performance. This seems to me to have been the positions of the founders of modern general linguistics, and no convenient reason for modifying it has been offered. Let us think about something. Do all speakers share the same underlying knowledge of language? If it is so, how do we know? Is language solely a cognitive process? What do we use language to do? Communication and achievement of social goals. Language without social knowledge, according to Hans, is a social monster. I repeat, language without social knowledge, according to Hans, is a social monster. It does take into account the attitudes, stances, and judgments. How do we know what to say? Not just important to know the linguistic rules, but the social rules too. We need to know when is it appropriate to speak, who is able to speak, which speech forms are effective in getting what we want to do. Our sociolinguistics knowledge is structured on communicative competence. So what do sociolinguists want to do? They provide a socially realistic linguistics. To this, we must represent all the speakers, not rely upon speaker intuition. We need to be descriptive and prescriptive. This allows us to learn more about language. There have been some examples of socially realistic linguistics. One of them is developing the work of dialectologists to represent all sorts of social identities, social groups, and individuals. Region that encompasses social class, age, gender, social group. How do linguistic features, patterns, according to social groupings, is also known as variationist sociolinguistics or quantitative sociolinguistics. Anything else that is undertaken in the study of sociolinguistics? Yes. It does attempt to solve social problems involving language. To do this, we must think about the role of power in language. We need to look to language for evidence of social inequality. We need to examine social policy with respect to language. And this alone allows us to learn more about society. Examples of policy implications: sexism, racism in language. Does our language render women invisible? Dialect and education research in inequality. language policy and planning affect social policy, in which we are to address multilingualism, standardization, education, globalization, and there have been the structure of language variation. Variation of language is based on certain social factors. It's not a free variation. What is a free variation then? A free variation, whether or not one form or another form is used, is linguistically insignificant. If we to say, she were a good laugh, and if you say, she was a good laugh, either of which do we think is to be more appropriate? Sociolinguists believe in structured heterogeneity, social constraints, linguistic constraints. If we to concentrate on she were a good laugh, accordingly the social context is a social class. But linguistically, what type pronoun? Social constraint on language. We learn to speak in different ways because of our place in society. We differ in society in terms of social class, in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity, age, region of origin. And language is indexical. It reflects our social memberships. It also helps to construct and define our social memberships. Then the question may come to our mind, are we all experts? We all have stories about our experience of language and its interaction with society. Sociolinguistics, is it a target for disparagement? Sociolinguistics is a systematic, scientific, rigorous as any other academic field. So friends, let us sum up whatever we have taken up to this point. Sociolinguistics is an interdisciplinary approach. It emerged from a particular stance towards formal linguistics. We shall focus on the branch of sociolinguistics that aims to provide a socially realistic linguistics. I would like to give you certain books for you to refer to. Hudson, Sociolinguistics, published by Cambridge in the year 1996. Mary Hoff Merriam, Introducing Sociolinguistics, Edinburgh. Trogill, Sociolinguistics, 4th edition, London, published by Penguin Books. Holmes, Janet, An Introduction to Sociolinguistics, published by Longman, London. Hans Dell, On Communicative Competence, Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania Press. So these are what are the books that we need to refer to in order to enhance our understanding about sociolinguistics. So I hope in this introductory lectures we have covered some of the basic tenets of sociolinguistics, and as we proceed on, we are just going to understand some more concepts in detail about sociolinguistics. So it's time to goodbye for a day, and with a promise that we'll meet tomorrow with the next with a new topic, with a new zest, with a new hope. But I hope that you be at home and just enjoy doing what you are doing. So, God, just stay at home.